Hey, what's up, everybody? Tonight I have a special guest. I've been waiting for months to talk to this guy. He's big in business. He's got cars. So please, everybody, welcome LamboDrew. What's up, Drew? How's it going?
Hey, LamboDrew is here, man. Shout out to you, Steph. Thank you definitely for having me in the building. Truly appreciate you, man, out here, man. Let's rock out
All right,
tonight.
man. Well, thanks for making the time. Appreciate it. So,
Oh,
who are you? Like, what's your story? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
man, well, me, Lambo, man, I'm just like the man, the myth, the legend of it all, right? And we get a chance, man, to see so many great people, right, in this industry and what we do. But my industry, where a lot of people first heard me at, was literally on a bus, transportation bus for almost 20 years, right? And driving public transportations, man, from all the way from man out east and retiring in Minneapolis from that time, man, really went on ahead, man, and allowed me to kind of really jump into some really major streams and help some people, right? In that time, though, a lot of people know it's almost 20 years of driving a bus. I got a chance to get myself, man, introduced to a lot of great people because I was in credit repair, right? Credit repair is like one of the major things that a lot of people need. Like, you're gonna need to use your credit if you want to buy a house. You're gonna need to use your credit if you want to buy a car. You're gonna need to use your credit, and I hate to say it, even if you have to go to the hospital and you got to pay a bill. There's still credit that you're gonna even need to use and leverage. So, for Lambo, I got a chance to get out there, man, and really help people with their credit while I was actually driving a bus and literally turning wheels for almost 20 years, right? Now, in those 20 years, man, I tell this to everybody, so I had the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, the ins, the outs. I had more bad days that looked like it was good days driving the bus. I mean, how many of us can contest to that we actually have more bad days look like in life than we have more good days, no matter in what form or facet in life that we're in or what career that we're in. So that was my testimonies, man, of being able to actually be out there, man, almost 20 years, helping people, millions of people I have met, literally, man, around and everything, man, in the world, pretty much just about, and really being able to help people. I tell people, man, I've met people from the White House to the crack house. And literally, I mean, not literally, I figuratively, I mean, like, seriously, I've met so many great people, and that form and fashion has always been in my mind to be able to help people. So being able to do credit repair, and then I was into stocks and dibble and dabble into that, allowed me to be able to really know that, my future is just not stuck behind the wheel driving a bus. My future is really stuck, outside of life and stepping out in life, really helping people. So it wasn't until Steph to where I found myself, man, in 2020, after we kind of went through everything that we went through. And we went through the good, the bad, the ups and downs, Steph, man, even while driving the bus. And this is why I want to tell somebody out there who's probably listening, and they're probably saying, Lambo, I'm really going through some hard times, through my life, through working or running a business and maybe not profiting like you should and feeling like that there is something more in life than where you're currently at right now. Don't you stop. Don't you give up. Keep going, because 10 to 1, there is something out there, and way more out there than what you can even ever expect. You just need to understand and know that life is not happening to you. Life is responding to you. And Steph, once I got that and I understood that, some of our worst days while driving transit, even in those 20 years, and one part of the worst days was almost a worst year, Steph, where me and my wife were actually homeless with our kids and living out of our vehicle for about a year. Oh, wow. Now, most people were saying, well, Lambo, you know what? You got a great job and you're doing credit and you're doing all of this. Well, guess what? Literally, the tables got turned upside down on Lambo, right? And Lambo found himself homeless, being out there with my wife and my kids, living out of a vehicle, trying to figure out how are we getting ready to go ahead and make it and make ends meet. Traveling, man, from hotel and motel when we possibly could. Most nights we didn't even have cash to even get into a motel, right? And so we had friends and different people would offer us to buy a night or a week or even a couple of days just for me and my family so that we can actually get out of that vehicle and get into a nice warm bed. That is what literally, man, made Lambo who he was in those tough times. In those tough times of the journey of actually us going through the workforce and trying to figure it out. And then at the same time saying, okay, where did this come from? Why did this hit me out of left field? And where are we going at in life? Where are we moving towards? And each of us always have a goal. We have a sense of direction. We have a sense of purpose or where we desire to be at. I knew at that moment of living out of that vehicle and living home and stuff, that was not our place that we were destined to be. And I remember, man, every single morning looking up and looking myself in the face in the mirror and saying to myself, here I am. I got this much years behind the wheel in a bus. Great career that I thought that was a great career, but literally my finances were a wreck. My credit, as I helped out so many people, was a wreck. Me being able to have a dime at one point to spend and not spend, loosely and we out here spending things recklessly. I mean, just to have a dime to be able to make it and put gas in the tank and food on the table for our kids was nowhere to be found. It's in moments like that that I question myself. Okay, what is the next chapter of my life? Because it's got to get better than this. But I use those moments to say, you know what, if I ever got out of this situation, what would I do? If I ever got out of this place, in this rock, in this hard place, what would I do? Who would I help? And I remember when we got out of that, my babies were super small at the time. And I'm sitting there looking at them now, like my son, he's getting ready to be 18 years old in like the next 5-6 months. And I'm sitting there looking up at him. And I remember them in diapers in that stage in my life. So I remember all of the times when I literally had to tell them no, or all of the times that they literally had to pack up and my wife had to stay out, man, late or even all day with the kids because we didn't have gas to go back and forth. Those times like that is what made us. So when we were able to get on the stage, we were able to help the people that we needed to help. And I'm always reminded and I'm always sympathetic with so many people who actually come into our presence or who actually come and do business with us. And literally, man, they're signing the contracts, or when we actually get into a place where I'm signing some of the biggest deals of my life, or being a part of the biggest deals of my life, or being on some of the biggest stages with influencers and people who have made it and are doing pretty well in life. I'm always taken back of those times when I actually didn't have and when we were going through our roughest. So, Steph, when people ask, like, Lambo, what it is and everything, man, about you, who are you? I said, I'm just a guy from New Orleans who decided to leave my comfort zone, who turned around, started a family, got into an entire business, and then all of a sudden didn't even know what was going to come from that. But here we are today. We've helped countless of thousands of people because I didn't give up, because I, my friend, was like you on the other side of this camera. Because of that, man, we built a brand, and this brand has helped so countless of people, man. And because of that, we're connected today on this show together, Steph, to go ahead and have conversations, because being on this side of the track and this side of the rainbow, right, allows us and everything, man, to be able to say, hey, not only if I could make it, we're a testimony that you can make it as well, because we didn't give up.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple things you mentioned I wanna comment on, kind of. So on the one side, you said credit is important. So I actually, because I'm from Europe, right, from Austria, and the credit system that in the US, it doesn't exist in Europe, right? In Europe, if you want a loan from a bank, if you want to finance a car or a house or whatever, they basically ask you, how much money do you make? You make like 10 grand a month and you spend 5. So they're going to be like, okay, you can afford a $5,000 payment. They don't care how much loans you had in the past. It's a totally different system. So when you come to the US, your credit score is not like 500 or 600, what's considered bad. Your credit score is 0.
Yeah.
Right? You start at 0, right? You have nothing. So when I came here and I was like, oh, I don't need a credit card. I didn't know anything about the system. I was like, oh, I don't need a credit card. I'm not going to spend money I don't have. Well, I got to learn the system, because my first vehicle I financed, they were like, oh, you have like no credit history. Your score is 0. I was like, what's a credit score? they were like, well, the best rate we can give you, I think it was like 17% for my first vehicle I financed, right? And then I refinanced it to 4% and whatever. But it's a whole system that if you come from somewhere else from the world, that system doesn't exist there. And I mean, some things make sense in that system, some things don't make sense, right? The more loans you have, the more you get. Okay, interesting logic, right? It kind of works differently, at least in Europe. So anyway, that's one thing I kind of experienced that system, and I've been kind of monitoring how that system is also evolving, right? Like even a couple of years ago, it was good when you had your cards all paid off. Now I feel like in the last couple of months, you don't want to pay your cards off. You always want to have some balance on there so the banks see that you're actually using them, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of see that things are changing there just from a consumer perspective. But
well,
anyway.
Banks actually reward you, and most people have the misconception. And you got to remember, I've helped everybody out. You'd be surprised the people I've helped out and the great places I got a chance to speak with. Most people have the misconception that paying the card off or paying cash for everything is the way to go.
Yeah.
And stuff. I'm here to let you know, no, that's definitely not the way to go. You have to be able to credit it, and people need to understand this. Credit is a formula, and you have to be able to understand the formula of credit to be able to leverage credit. And that's what I do. Now I allow people to be able to understand that formula, put them in position to leverage credit, and then take that credit that they have leveraged to go get money from the banks so they can produce cash flow or scale themselves even higher. So most of the time when you're thinking that, oh, well, man, I got to just pay my balance and stuff like that, pay my bills on the due date. Well, let me know what your credit, what that is. Are you too high over in utilization? Utilization possibly could be one of the major things that is kicking people out or even dragging their score down even more, but the banks are giving more denials than approvals, right? So if the utilization is so high, then what we need to do is we need to put it at a sweet spot, right? Most of the time you've heard these gurus and heard people all on YouTube and everywhere else talk about credit and keeping you under 30%. That's where you want to keep your credit at. I want to tell somebody out there, that's a good analogy and it's amazing if that's some place you want to keep your credit, but that's not where the banks want to see your credit at. And then people will say, well, the magic number must be 20%. And I said, you're doing pretty good. You're getting warmer, but that's not where the banks want to see your credit score at or your credit utilization at. And then the next minute, I said, well, man, what if they want to see it at 10%? I said, anywhere between 1% to 7% is the magic number.
Yeah.
They just want to be able to see some sort of history on there to reward you for your points that you actually are having. I've had people who've had 800 credit scores or 799 credit scores. This is a good example. 799, 795, 785 credit scores. And they were saying, Lambo, how do I get into the 800s? And I looked down at the formula and I said, well, you're doing it all wrong. You're paying off all your bills. The banks want you to go ahead and leave just a little balance on there so they can make a little money, but they're going to reward you off of that balance being left on there.
Yeah.
That sweet spot is 1% to 7% in rotating that balance each month. Maybe you do a 3% one month. Maybe you take it up to 5% the next month. Maybe you take it down to 2% the month after. Maybe you take it up to 7% the month after that. Take it back down to 1%. Take it up to 5%. You have to juggle those numbers month by month. But keeping between 1% to 7% for each one of your cards will allow the banks to be able to go ahead and give you the necessity of credit scores that you need to have the highest amount, right? Yeah. Because I told a person that, I took them from the 795s, 790s, 785s, all the way into the 800s with ease. And they were up in the 820s and 825s and 840s at that point from just adjusting how they actually use their spending with their credit.
And that's something nobody teaches you, right? I mean, I didn't go to school in the US, but even the people who did, they don't know anything about this. Like I just by kind of experimenting with things, my credit history started at the age of 30 for me, right? When I started at 0. And, people, I feel like there's no education around this. Nobody knows, right? Unless you work with somebody who knows like yourself, or you kind of figure it out yourself, right? So it's kind of an interesting system.
Yeah. Well, we had some amazing coaches, man, amazing friends who showed me along the way. So it wasn't like Lambo just got out here stuff and just was out here and just came out on me and boom, I just was Don, the king of credit, right? To be able to help people out. And it's like, no, that wasn't it. I literally had to go pay for a lot of the information I got. I had to go sit in seminars. I had to go make sure that I was pouring into myself so that when somebody came to ask me an actual credit question or anything that pertained to finances, I at least had the answer, or I can point them into the direction of someone else who had the answer. And that was always the biggest thing that kept driving me, especially being out here. So I learned on the basis of what I do now with money and bringing it into higher cash flows and diversifying portfolios and making sure that we're able to scale businesses from where they're at to, talk about multi-millions of dollars more. We're able to do that based off of the same principles that I learned when I was actually researching all of that information for credit. So again, it just comes with the tool and the territory, Steph. So, you talk about your journey and stuff like that, man. And, overseas, they're actually not really being that big of a credit system. You got a job. Hey, how much it is that you need? Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. So it's very, very different. So you said you had a job, you were driving a bus, and then so where was that point in time where you're like, okay, I'm done doing that. I'm going to start a business now, and I'm doing it myself now.
So amazing question, man. Thanks for that stuff. So that point in time actually hit when COVID happened. 2020 happened. I already knew that, I was getting ready to go on ahead, and I just felt something different, right? I knew something was different. I'm out here, I'm helping people, I'm doing stuff, and I'm really having that burning desire to like, hey man, I got all this other stuff going on that people don't know, right? But they see me driving a bus and they automatically think, oh, he's gonna be here, he's gonna retire, he's gonna put the plaque on the wall. And I knew at that point when COVID got there, and I just knew it was time to go. That same year, right before COVID, this gentleman right over my shoulder is Kobe Bryant. Shout out to Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players, man, in my lifetime, man, to be able to see. People got their own analogies of Michael Jordan, them being one of the GOATs and one of the greatest. But Kobe Bryant was by far my favorite. When Kobe passed away the month before COVID actually hit, I knew something and everything, man, needed to be shifted because I wanted to make sure that my legacy, what I was leaving behind, was way more than what people were just remembering me in just this sheltered place at my job. So I knew I had to get out. I could not go on ahead and continue to keep going down this road. COVID, though, actually happening and a few people passed away at my job, I remember taking the trip down and everything to New Orleans when my brother got married later that year in August. And I remember looking around, I was just like, man, if this is the way life is right now and this is the new norm, and, do I really want to accept me going back to driving and just going through this new norm of COVID and everybody out here doing this? I said, nah, I'm not getting ready to accept that. My family doesn't accept that. My wife doesn't deserve that. My kids don't deserve that. Not just that, the people I'm connected to in my future, they don't deserve that. Because it would be unfair for me to sit down and stay in one place when I can help so many more people out. And at that moment, Steph, I knew when I got back from off of that wedding vacation or wedding trip, I knew my time was numbered. That was in August. I was retired September the 24th, 2020. Next month.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's one of my favorite questions because I think everybody who starts doing their own thing knows that, because it's kind of always this mindset, right? As an employee, you try to not make any mistakes, right? You make a mistake, you get in trouble, and you get, not good. Don't make any mistakes, right? Whereas in business, I feel like everybody, one way or another, learned very, very quickly that the more mistakes you make, unless you don't make the same mistakes and expect a different result, which is the definition of insanity, as we know, right?
Yeah.
As long as you learn from your mistakes, those are the things that really make you change direction and grow. So tell us about a couple of your biggest mistakes.
Oh my gosh. Steph, I can go on and on about Lambo's mistakes, man, in my life. But I think the biggest mistakes that I ever, and I tell this to anyone, that I ever could have done was actually staying too long in a place where I knew I should have been gone way earlier than that. That had to be my biggest mistake. Man, what if I would have left earlier? What if I would have did this 5 years ago? What if I would have did this 10 years ago? What if I just got out there and I said, you know what? I'm going to believe in myself because I can do it. I know I can do it. And I had so many great friends who were on the outside of what I was doing. They were very successful. So I would literally get to my end of my layovers, right, Steph? And I can't make this up. I would actually be hearing the numbers on the phone on my layover. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, we're talking millions of dollars out here and hundreds of thousands and all of this. And I'm sitting there, would hang up the phone and go walk back to a bus to drive for $20 an hour, $25 an hour. And I'm saying to myself, here goes the millions and all the money over here. They're enjoying life. They're not stuck to a system like I'm stuck to, but they're enjoying life. And I think when I got to the point, and the biggest mistake that I got to the point of, every time I looked around for me staying just a little bit longer, each year got more harder. Something always happened. Steph, you can talk about it. Stuff always happened. Like it seemed like this would just break down, or this bill would come up out the blue, or we couldn't do this, or we couldn't do that. There was more no's in my house than yeses. And you have to ask yourself that if there is more no's in your life than you being able to say yes, then it's time to change. And that had to have been one of the biggest mistakes I can honestly say in my life, of staying too long. But sometimes everything has a time and in a season, because me retiring September 24th, I can remember less than 30 days before, I remember telling a young man, that's why LamboDrew is in front of these cameras, in front of you guys here today, and helping so many more people. There wouldn't have been no LamboDrew in front of cameras and all of this and helping people had it not been for one young man named Revenue Man. And shout out to my guy Ryan, who was an employee there at my job. And I remember telling him, I said, dude, I got something special to give you, right? Now, this is the day before Labor Day. So keep that in mind. September 24th, the day before Labor Day, that probably was like 20-day difference at that point. And I remember telling him, I got something special to give to you, man. And he said, what? What it is that you got to give me, right? I told him that morning at 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. By 7 p.m. that evening, I'm pulling the bus in the station. That gentleman is sitting on the front bench outside of the transit station waiting on me. I said, whoa. I said, youngster, what you doing out here? And he says, Lambo, I wasn't even Lambo back then. He says, Drew, I'm waiting on you because guess what? You said you was going to give me something, and I don't want you to run out on me because I know how you run out and sneak out the back door. So I didn't want you to run out. That one instance or that one thing changed his life as well as changed my life. Because at that moment, when I went park that bus, I remember walking back up to like, man, you know what? I'm about to go teach this guy how to do credit repair. He didn't know the gift I was giving to give to him. And when I walked outside and I began to show him in front of a bus station how to do credit repair. This is a young man in his 20s. He's thinking like, what the heck can I need with this? At that moment when he seen it, he caught fire, Steph. Instantly, it was just something happened. Like that moment needed to happen. It had to be him. Not no one else could have done that. And because of that moment, I remember spending a couple of hours with him in front of that, teaching him credit repair, literally from a phone in 2020. I remember at that moment, he says, Drew, you think I can advertise this the next day? I said, go ahead, put it on social media. And that young man went on ahead, made a post, put it on social media, and by that next day, had more clients interested in having credit repair. And literally, I'm telling you, it just didn't stop from there. It was day after day after day after day. Every day, he was having more clients who wanted to get their credit repair done off of the methods I taught him. And I began to start working hand in hand with him on all of these files together so we can go on ahead and accomplish that. In 1 month, he had a little over 400 clients his first month. By the second month, he was working on almost 1,000 by the second month. So when I tell people, I said, oh my goodness, it took off. He said to me after the first week, you have to go ahead and go live. You have to go do something. You have to go do something more than what you're doing. People need to hear what you're saying because they don't know what I've been heard behind closed doors and what you done showed me. And they need to hear your voice. And from that, LamboDrew was born. So shout out and everything, man, to Ryan. 20 days before Lambo was supposed to retire and get on out of there and retire, showed him, man, and everything, how to do credit. And then, boom, I was on the TV screen doing lives, Facebook lives and everything else, and Instagram lives and all of that. And then, boom, we built up an audience, a community, and people were seeing the results that we were doing. And then it just caught fire. That's all it did. Caught fire, and we're here today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when Ryan had 400 clients, how many did you have?
At that time, I didn't have no 400 clients. I may have had like 3 or 4, at that time. Because mine was just clients here or there. Mine was 3 clients here, 5 clients here, 2 clients there, 1 client there. There was plenty of times my wife could tell you, man, doing out that stretch, I was like, dude, could you throw me 1 client? Because you got all these clients. I say, dude, I at least need 1 client or a fresh client to be able to go ahead and get it. And he was just like, yeah, I'll throw you 1, and then came back and he never threw me anything. I said, man, dude, I would have did the same thing. He was just a go-getter. He was young, full of zeal, man, in his 20s, man, doing it. So, shout out to him and everything, man, because these young guys, man, they're killing the game out here, man. No fear.
What do you mean? You and I were still young. Come on.
Man, right? Dude, you see these gray hairs on us, man, and you see I told you I put almost 20 years in the transit game. So you already know, man, we already got some years underneath our feet, man. So we're thankful at this point, man, to be able to have this conversation. But I look good because of my wife, Steph. She makes me she keeps me young. She keeps me young. She keeps me young.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned something before that I also want to touch on because that's I feel like that's what's holding most people back, which is comfort zone, right? And from my story is a bit different. I didn't drive a bus, but it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter if you make $20 an hour as an employee or $200 an hour. You're still limited. You're still in the business of selling your time for money, and that just never scales, right? There's just so much time you can sell and so much money you can make. So I was kind of in that boat. I did that for 18 years, and for me, my life-changing event was completely external to me. I thought, I was actually working on a client project for my employer, Amazon. And I was like, well, people are getting laid off, but I'm working for a client. I'm not getting laid off. Well, one day I got laid off, and I was like, all right, well, now, all the time, because my problem was always like, I wanted to do my own thing, but I never knew, especially in IT and software engineering, I was like, well, it's not like you just run a Facebook ad for that, right? So I never knew how to market that. Now it's a bit different because now I dove into much more marketing and all of those things, but I just didn't know. So, but I also never tried. And, I asked myself the same question. I was in that career for 18 years. I'm like, damn, what if I had gotten laid off when I was like 25 or so, right? It could have been, it was just, in my situation, it was just COVID, there was over hiring and then firing after, right? Which nowadays, even 5 years ago, I was like, okay, you're a software engineer, you're good, you're safe, you don't have nothing to worry about. Now you do have something to worry about, right? Everybody's unsafe, with COVID ending and AI coming up and all of that. So things are changing rapidly. Like, AI is coming it's going to change a lot of things, right? So, that's kind of my story. So in the end, comfort zone, you're in your comfort zone. It doesn't matter if you make, $20 an hour, $200 an hour, you're comfortable and that's holding you back. So, and sometimes you need that. Sounds like for you, same thing, right? You need that external event that kicks you out of that comfort zone, and now you got to figure things out. So
I needed that kick in the butt. Lambo needed that kick in the butt, Steph, and I think at the time I think at that time, at the end of my career, I was in my 30 some dollars an hour or whatever. So we were doing pretty nice. I want to say that. But wasn't living the lifestyle. I mean, like I was making money doing the other things with the credit and everything else and all of these other stuff that we was doing. But was I really making the impact that I really needed to make? Like, really, was I really being able, like today, this is a true story. I sat down with a gentleman today, right? I'm not talking about past things or anything else. I'm saying this is the normal lifestyle of today. And I watched the gentleman be able to have an inheritance given to him and sit down and meet with him face to face to map out just a little short of $500,000, right? And we mapped out a strategy to put that into so many other different avenues that would take care of him for the rest of his life. An older gentleman, right? And to me, at that moment, no matter any other moment, you can talk about moments for days, but at that moment today, there was a sense of gratitude and thankfulness that says, this is why you made the decision over 4 years ago. This is why you made that decision to begin to help people out. This is why you made that decision that most people will never make. Imagine the magnitude of being able to help one single person change the course of their destiny because you took a chance on you.
Yeah, definitely. And also it trickles down, right? It's not just the people you help, but then the people you help, they help other people, and then those people can help people and they do better. And generally we need way less people who walk around and are unhappy all day, because if you're unhappy with yourself, you're not going to be a good citizen, and you're not going to be a good friend or a good husband, wife, whatever. So the more people we get out there and help them achieve their dreams, they're going to help other people achieve dreams, or just be a good sport, and be a good person to be around. So
that's facts.
World one step at a time, right?
One of the biggest things, stuff that I always heard, more people are more acceptable to get an RSVP for a happy party than a pity party.
Sure.
So, keep that in mind and everything when someone's out there and they're thinking like Mio, why is why? More people are out there to definitely accept when you're bringing off good energy, you're bringing off positive energy, you're bringing off great things and speaking life outside of your mouth. Then you're actually being negative and you're actually being doubtful and you're being fearful and you're saying these things. People are like, I don't need that around me, because you will understand. And just like Steph understands it, we had got a chance to talk before the show. When Steph understood that when you get a chance to be able to say that, hey, I'm getting ready to step out, regardless of it's forced out or you finally decided to really take that big step, when you get a chance to do that, your real dreams and your real lifestyle is waiting right on the other side of that decision. Make that decision. It's not hard. And I don't care if you're sitting there, you're saying to yourself, well, how many more times do I got to clean these bathrooms and clean these restrooms and actually get into this job that is so super stressed, that's really stressing me out? How many more times do I have to be in that place or in that position that's uncomfortable that I don't want to be in? Guess what? The power of one, like Ed Milet said, do it one more time, and then one more day, and then one more time again. And watch what happens when your whole mindset changes and you're saying, I'm doing it out of gratefulness and gratitude, because guess what? I know I got an expiration date. I know I'm getting closer to my goal. I know one of these days the big boom is getting ready to happen and things are getting ready to change for my life. So don't get weary and well doing. Just know that, hey, I got to be here for just a little time. But don't worry, when the world sees you coming, they're going to know who Steph's name is. They're going to know who LamboDrew's name is. They're going to know the people in the audience, their names. They're going to know who their names is, because guess what? They are waiting on you. And nobody can do it, Steph, but you. Nobody can do this interview but Lambo. And that's why we are on here doing it, because we decided to step out and really see what the other side of our dreams look like.
Yeah. So you got me interested there. You mentioned something, and I think that's That's a good point. Why are we doing what we're doing, right? What's the goal? So what's your process, and maybe what's your recommendation for people? How do
Oh,
you keep your goals in mind? How do you not lose track
can,
of where you want
can,
to be?
can I say something to you? And I really want to tell anybody and everybody out there the biggest thing that fuels Lambo. It may not fuel anybody. It may not mean anything to anybody. But I am literally a person that loves to see people's dreams and visions come to pass. I'm like your biggest coach and cheerleader, Steph. And I know Steph, he's a coach himself. But sometimes the coach needs to coach. And the coach, they say, hey, man, Lambo's my coach. He's the guy who gets it. And I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader, your biggest motivator, your biggest person that shows you and shows up for you and stands up for you because I believe in you. And most of the time, we don't have that person that really believes in us and who really means well for us. They mean well for themselves. They want to take for themselves and see how much can they get from other people by actually doing it a sneaky way or a sly way or really, 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 man, just out for themselves and only for themselves. But when you find a coach and when you find somebody who's in your corner and who doesn't give up on you when you want to give up on yourself, it's almost like that Rocky movie when he had Mickey in his ear and Rocky got Mickey in his ear. I don't know if you've seen that. You watch Rocky movies, Steph? If you seen a couple of them?
Yeah.
Okay, when Rocky was down on that ground and Mickey was talking to him, you get up, Rock, get up from off of that ground. It ain't done yet. I didn't hear no bell. That's Lambo. I'm that Mickey to how Mickey was to Rock. I'm your coach telling you I didn't hear no bell. Don't you give up. We getting ready to do this. We getting ready to make this happen. So I breathe on people's visions and their dreams because I believe in them. And when people didn't believe in me, when people didn't spend a dime with me, when people didn't do business with me, when people wouldn't even want Lambo to even say, hey, I don't even want you in my business because I don't think there's nothing you can do. Those are the people that I continuously stayed up sleepless of nights, tiresome nights, kept researching, kept networking, kept driving myself to be the very best so I can help somebody else out be their very best. Because of that, I built that brand up off of that trust, that relationship, but also being able to see that next person get to that next level by any means necessary. So, Steph, if I can see you get to your next level, if I can see you get to your place where you're saying, Lambo, like this happened, like I really wanted it to happen, and you really made it happen with me. You were there with me step by step. I mean, I can't be there every step, but doggone it, I'm going to be there most steps because you got to go ahead and put the work in yourself. Lambo can't do all the work, but I'm there to make sure that I help push you into your dreams and into your destinies because I'm telling you what, you got a countless domino effect of people waiting on the other side when you really do get there. And that is why Lambo is who Lambo is today because I'm helping breathe on people's vision.
So speaking of Lambo, where does the name come from?
Lambo, man, they gave me the Lambo name before there was any Lamborghinis or anything else in the place or anything like that. They loved how fast I did work, right? And they loved how fast and everything, man, I was actually able to do deals and make some things happen, right? Even before there was any Lambos in the really place and stuff like that. And then when we were able to go ahead and get it because we were able to start leveraging credit and leveraging assets and leveraging all this other money, now all of a sudden you're able to help people get their dreams because that's what they want. And there's somebody out there, they've been inspiring, like, man, I always really wanted to have one. Always really wanted to have a sports car. I remember everything, Steph, I think you had a McLaren or something like that you was telling me about. And that to somebody is like their dream car. Like, man, Steph, like when they see you drive past, like, oh my God, look at that car, look at that car. And you get from kids to middle ages to grown adults, I mean to the elders will stop by and say, hey, that's a beautiful car. I love that car. It just catches the attention.
Well, some people, they're like, well, that's a nice Corvette there. And I'm like, excuse me? Anyway, that's mostly the boomer generation. They're like, okay, a fast car is always a Corvette. I'm like, well,
no,
not always, but yeah, whatever. At least they recognize that it's a fast car. But
yeah, well,
it happens a lot.
That it's funny how I don't know how they would get a McLaren, but the Corvettes are pretty good. The newer model Corvettes, man, are really like that and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, the McLaren is just a beautiful, beautiful baby. You know, the one I would really love to see, the McLaren, is the Sienna, right? That one, oh my gosh. We talk about vehicles and cars and stuff that make Lambo sweat, you know. That Sienna is a beautiful baby. You know?
What is that your favorite car, or what's your like?
Oh no, my favorite car. I'm a big SVJ fan. I love the SVJ, man. You know, that's hands down. When the Revoltos come out, man, at the end of the year, you know, I really want to see, man, how those things perform. So I love the Revoltos, man. I'm a big SF90 fan for the Ferrari. I really like the Ferraris as well, man. So it just kind of depends on, you know, what mood and everything, man, I'm at. I love and everything, man, just the power, you know, though that's behind the exotics itself. And that's how most of us need to be in life, right? If we had the power and the mechanics, as well as, you know, how the performance, right, as these exotics actually run, they don't run like a Toyota. They don't run like a Honda, right? I mean, Steph, just stop me if I'm wrong. Does your McLaren run like a Honda?
Nope. It's if you make it home, you're lucky. But it doesn't matter because you get the experience. Yet, even if it stops working somewhere on the side of the road, you still had a better time. So hasn't happened to me, but maybe I got lucky. But it always got me home so far. But
yeah, hey, keep the McLarens and everything, just like any other vehicle. Especially, you're going to find out more when you're in exotics. They stay more in the shop and stay more plugged up than you actually do a regular car. They're not just the regular maintenance where you just start the key and you can just take off driving. You can come back 2-3 weeks later after vacation and it's still sitting there, you know, ready to go ahead and pull off. No, there's a certain level of maintenance and babiness and pacifying. Like I said, you know how that McLaren is that you have to do to the McLaren, where you're not getting ready to go to Walmart, and I hate to say this, and get a little $30, $40 oil change on that McLaren. They're gonna look at you. Oh, so you want this? What you want? What you want out of here again? I can see them now looking in the book for Walmart. Hold on, our McLaren $30, $40. Oh no, baby, we don't got that. Has to go to a dealership that can handle that.
Yeah. There's not, I'm in Tucson, Arizona. I actually have to go to Phoenix 2 hours away to get it serviced. But anyway, that's kind of part of it. Because if you think about it, I feel like when people look at that car, it's so, and I feel like that's where people kind of limit themselves, right? Because, you know, option out a diesel truck, right? It's six figures nowadays, right? A new diesel truck is $100,000, maybe 110, 120, maybe, right? Based on options. So if you think about a used McLaren, you can get one for about the same money, right, as a diesel truck. So, you know, of course, you can get a cheap diesel truck for cheaper, but a nice diesel truck is $100,000. So it's just a little less than a McLaren, right? But nobody looks at a diesel truck and is like, whoa, what is this? It's just a truck, right? Nobody gives a shit about a diesel truck. But that was a McLaren, and maybe it's like 10 grand more. So, but now suddenly, but of course, the maintenance is a little different. Insurance is different, but I feel like that's where that limiting belief is, right? Like, if somebody's like, okay, I need to buy $100,000 diesel truck, they're like, okay, it's just a work truck. But to get to the McLaren, I feel like most people, or Lambo or Ferrari or whatever, people don't think they can have one. And I think that's the first problem you got to solve, because you can absolutely have one, right? You just need to think that you can have one. So,
Steph, you don't know. You didn't say in a conversation I just had the other day, man, with a great friend of mine, and I know he'll be sitting out here looking at the show just cracking up laughing, because he bought a nice truck, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he literally looked over it. I remember we're going back and I'm showing him everything in the catalog and saying, hey, man, you know, if you want this exotic, you can go do this one, you can go get this one. And he was shocked. He was like, well, Lambo, I didn't know they didn't cost that. For the same thing I just bought my truck out there, I could have got this one. I said, yeah, unfortunately. but you don't know what you don't know. So, and not just that, there is a way to be able to get it. And I think that we specialize, my team specializes in that we help people get their dream cars, right? We show you how to go get it, right? And I tell this to people, I give a shout out to my guy, Rondy Lambeth. I watched this guy, right? He was in Credit Bread, still does Credit Bread. I watched him like, go get a Ferrari. And I'm sitting there thinking like, how in the world are you going to get a Ferrari? Like, what are you doing like that? Like, I know you're doing numbers, but what are you really doing like that? And then he say, oh, don't worry about it, Lambo, I'll show you later. Then he went got a jet. And I'm sitting in there looking at him, what in the world is he doing with the jet, you know? And the power of credit. This is early. This is years back, though. Still driving bus days. The power of credit and how to be able to leverage credit and how to be able to take what most people think and what they spend, because either they have the credit utilization that's really high, so the numbers are out of whack, or they may have derogatory items that are on their file that literally pushes them into a more prime lending, right? So the high limits that they're paying for prime lending, most people don't know. You can go get another vehicle or a high line vehicle for about the same thing a month. And especially if the terms and the conditions are strengthened out. Most people don't know that exotics are just not the traditional type of financing, right? You're just not going to do a 48 month, a 36 month, a 24 month, not even a 60 month. You know, most exotics, anything over $100,000, literally classifies itself, if it's not a big depreciation, into exotic car financing. So those term lengths, right, or longer, those term lengths are 84 months and 96 months and 108-month terms and 144-month terms, which a lot of people don't understand, that those type of terms of being able to designate those payments month by month frees up so much other capital for you to make other business moves, right? And you can purchase and drive that dream car for about the same that what that person is actually paying out there for that diesel truck or the, you know, the other vehicles, where I'm like, yeah, you know, you could be driving that if you actually do that. Same thing for the airplanes or the yachts. They could be actually doing and living a life where they're probably only paying $500 or $1,200 a month, right, for afford an airplane or to afford a yacht, right? But what people do is that they position their money into the necessity of their lanes of what they can only see themselves at. Well, if you only see yourself paying your bills and just getting by and going shopping and consumer spending, now your focus is just to that. Where the other person has seen the other side, like me and you, Steph, we've seen the other side of that coin where, hey, you can actually go do that. You can actually, you know, drive your dream car. You can live in your dream house or live on a jet or live on a boat if you actually take your finances and then position for them to work for you than them actually working against you.
Yeah. And there's a couple things. I mean, with cars, it's what most people don't know is that there's a separate car credit score, right? You can make $1 million a year, but if you've never had higher car loans, they're maybe going to give you 50 grand, right? And they're not going to finance your $300,000 supercar, even though you could easily pay it in cash, but they're not going to give it to you, because even though you make the money, they're like, well, maybe it's just going to die in the car because you can't drive it or whatever. But but on the other hand, somebody making less than $100,000 a year who had cars like this all the time for a couple of years, well, you can get it and you can finance it. So
it's called comparable credit. That's the biggest thing, where clients who come to me, when I say that, hey, you need comparable credit, because they may be in position where they're cash flowing and making a lot of money. And I got guys who are just working a 9 to 5, and they say, Lambo, look, I just work a 9 to 5 and everything, but I would love to have that. We're able to go on ahead and help assist with putting comparable lines or comparable credit lines on clients' files, because we and our team owns the debt that can do that. So when they pull the credit file, right, we're able to report if you need 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, $500,000 on your business file. We're able to do that legally. And there's most people out there are not doing what we do, so they come to us. They come to our team. They come to our circles. And we're able to get them finance approved and get approved so they can get out and drive the dream cars, right? And drive it at a high space. I told a story about the guy, Wes Watson. If you know who Wes Watson is, he's an amazing guy out on the West Coast, man, really killing it. Call him Watson Fit, right? Makes millions of dollars a month. He's bought cash, about 11 vehicles cash, between the ranges of $1 million as low as like $300,000. He went on there to finance a car for the first time in his business credit name. He wanted to do an SVJ. And Steph, you know, that's about $1 million car, right? When he went on there to go do and finance for the SVJ, one of our members said, hey, man, you may need to reach out to the other team, Lemmer, let them get you right. Oh, no, don't even worry about it. I got it. He got out there at that dealership and then turned around. And when they say, yeah, we need a down payment. And they say, for this SVJ, we want $750,000 down. Mm-hmm. Imagine walking on there and paying 3/4 of what this vehicle cost you because you didn't have the credit. And imagine what $750,000 could have did for someone out there who actually were in business or wanted to scale or wanted to do many other things, right? But he was upset and mad to where if he came to us for a line, we could have been able to put it on there for only about 5% of that total line, whatever the value of that line is. So if you got, man, or anywhere from 5 to 7%, it just kind of just depends on where you're at with it. But if he wanted a $100,000 line, he could have kind of got it for like $5,000 or $7,000. Really cheap, but it would have been reporting. Imagine if he got a $300,000 line on there, and he's got it to report on there to the bureaus. So when they pull his business credit, oh, wow, well, we see you have comparable credit. Now we're able to give you at a 0 down to possibly a 10%, as high as a 25% down. They're not going to go that higher than 25% when you see comparable credit. Most of the times it's between 0% to 10%. Yeah. Imagine that, how much money he could have saved and allowed that cash to be actually cash flowing into other investments. Yeah. Having the knowledge, having the team, having the brains to be able to know what to put on your file and be able to get you right allows you to have access in. So, Steph, you're 100% right, man, about that. People don't know that, then they don't know. If they haven't purchased anything that high, trust me, they're going to definitely get a no. And we don't want to have them in a no. We want to have them in more yeses out here by educating each and every single one of our clients.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just that, again, the mindset thing, right? You don't work for money, you make money work for you, right? And that's just, I don't know, I just grew up like that. You know, you have to work to have money, right? And then you got to work again and you work again and you sell your time and suddenly you're retired and it's all over. So it starts up here in the mindset, right? And it's just, unfortunately, most people, that's how you grow up. You got to work to have money and work all the time. Work. Don't play work. And it's just, anyway, that's where it starts. That's where you got to start making changes.
Well, it's the nature of the beast. And I will say this real quick. I mean, having a work ethic is what actually makes so many people successful. Whether you have a work ethic, if you're first flipping your first burgers, or you're mopping your first floors, or you're cleaning your first bathrooms, or I don't care what you're doing. Some people may be doing Uber or courier services or whatever out there. Having a work ethic will allow you to be able to put the extra effort when you do get a business or when you do get that high promotion. So where your skills are actually on display. Most people, again, they want to see you work, not to see you lazy.
Yeah, for sure. But at some point, and that's actually interesting you say that, because I always, I come out of IT and software engineering, and there's like, sometimes you feel like you're lazy because you're making the computer do the work, but really you're becoming more efficient, right? Yeah. And as a business owner, I think it's a common mistake, and I find myself doing it even today, is like, oh, let me just do this myself. It's going to be, let me just not be lazy. But sometimes it's just like, the more you do, the less other people do. And the one lesson I just learned recently actually is, you would think that, okay, the better you train your employees, but recently I just waited and somebody else picked it up, and guess what? If you tell somebody what to do, now they can do the one thing you told them to do, but that next thing you didn't tell them to do, they're like, oh, I need help, right? But if you just stop doing something and you don't tell anybody about it, now you figure out who are the people who see a problem and figure out the solution by themselves. And those are the people I want in my team, and not the people who need instructions for everything. So that's kind of my latest lesson that I learned. Just stop doing what you're doing and just figure out who, somebody else is gonna figure out the solution and start doing it. And those are the people you want, right?
I'll say this all the time, man. You are not a problem looking for an answer. You're an answer looking for problems. And when you quickly find out that there are more people on your team who are answers, who are looking to solve problems, that is exactly how your network will grow, and that's exactly how your company will grow and scale. So go ahead and take that, man. Be like, hey, are you an answer looking for a problem, or are you a problem looking for an answer? Because I'm hoping like I'm not it. I'm hoping like you can X me out of that, because most of the time, man, those are like your headaches, and that's the people who don't want to put the work in. They don't want to support your vision. They really don't want to give 110% effort. And if you really want to go to that next level, you have to find people who do not just match you, but possibly overmatch you with their drive and their zeal, because they're more efficient and more excited to help you get to your goals and help reach the goals together as a team than they actually are to actually be out there by themselves, shining alone by themselves. So yeah, you want teamwork. I want teamwork all the time. If I want somebody and everything on my team, I want you better than me. I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. I don't need the loudest one in the room. But doggone it, we're going to be the hardest working people in the room. I promise you that.
Definitely. And I don't want to be the person solving today's problems. I want to be the person watching other people solve today's problems, whereas I create tomorrow's problems, so that tomorrow my people have problems to solve tomorrow and come up with solutions better than the ones I could come up with.
Hey,
whereas I create the problems for next week to solve, right?
Hey, so. I like that. That's good. Most people, they're not thinking with that mindset you just thought. They're like, I'll just leave it to the next person, or they leave it go undone. And how many times that we've actually walked into situations like that where people have actually dropped off a problem or a situation and they left it undone for someone else to do it.
Yeah. So it's like, sign on a new client today. Well, that's a problem because now there's work to do, right? Yeah. But I don't want to deal with that. I want to figure out the 3 new clients for next week. That creates a problem because there's nobody to do the work. And then, at some point you find the people. And anyway, so that's where it becomes real fun. So
awesome, man. I love it. So I love it because it sounds like you already are having the team around to like, yo, Lambo, I'm just waiting on the team for the key people in key places to be in place so that they can solve those problems and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And building a strong team, that's leadership. That's what brings championships. One man can't bring a championship like Kobe Bryant. I look over my shoulder, Cole, everything that you did. Last game, 60 points. But it took the rest of the team to go on ahead and get all the other points so that they can win that last game and he can actually walk off that floor. So I need people to be scoring just as much as I am, but also playing defense just as much as I am, right? It's a team effort. It's a team sport. So I need you just to be on your heels as you are on my heels so that we can go on ahead, man, and we can ride this wave together. So shout out to you for that, Steph, man. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And that's when things become fun, right? Like I always if you give me a task to do, it'll probably never get done if it's just me, right? But if there's a team working on it, now there's the dynamic, right? It's always that, you need people, like I said, you need people to create problems and people to solve problems, and then you work together. Because, if you just have one problem and you solve it, now you get bored. Now what, right? So you need to create more problems to solve. And so that dynamic, that's where it becomes fun for me, right? So
we create as many, we solving as many problems around here, Steph. So don't you worry about it, man. I know you, man. I can look in Steph's eyes. Steph's out there about to solve 1,000,001 problems next week. So y'all be on the lookout for that. I'm telling y'all this right now.
For sure. Well, cool. The time flies when you're having fun. You know that saying, right? So it's been an hour. I don't expect people to listen to us chat here for more than an hour. So I think we'll you and I will definitely talk some more and probably work together in the future.
Oh,
But if somebody out there is watching right now or sees us on social media and they want to work with you, I'll drop off the stage and you tell them where they can find you.
Say less, man. Thank you for that, man, Steph. Listen, I first of all want to thank everybody in the comments, man. I see you, I see you, Renata. That's my wonderful wife. I see you, Money. I see you, Fro. I see you, Julie. I see you, Cutie P. Thank all of y'all. I see you, Champ. I see you, Lane Myers. I see you, Luke. I see you out there. Thank all y'all, man, for tuning in, man, tonight. And I see all the comments and emojis in there. You guys are amazing. But for those and everything, man, who definitely want to tap in with Lambo, man, definitely don't be afraid to reach out to me or my team. The number is 612-547-8826, 612-547-8826. You can text that number and says, hey, Lambo, need to set up a strategy. I will actually have my team set you up a strategy, get you a call, book your call with me, and we'll go one-on-one. And I'll really be able to go on ahead and help further your vision. If you guys need to reach me on social media, reach out to me on Instagram at LamboDrew_TMT. Reach out to me also on Facebook at Andrew Johnson. And if you guys want to go ahead and reach out to me on TikTok, it's LamboDrew_TMT as well. Any one of those can reach out to me. Again, you guys can definitely stay contacting me. Stay contacted with me even on my YouTube channel, LamboDrew. Definitely LamboDrew TMT. Tuesday and Thursday nights, we go live every Tuesday and Thursday nights, live at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. PST, and we show a lot of love. So you guys definitely want to be tapped into the community. We got a lot of great things that are going forward and making sure that we continuously to give you guys what you need so that you guys are able to excel at the next level. Again, jump into my Telegram as well. I will actually send you a message for that number at 612-547-8826. Jump into my Telegram community. We're talking about a lot of amazing, great things. And you want to stay connected to the movement and what the things that we are doing that are allowing people to get on the next level and definitely empowering them. Again, 612-547-8826. Text me that, man, and I will go on ahead and add you guys into the Telegram chats as well or book a call with Lambo. Thank you guys and everything, man. Steph was great. He was amazing to show, amazing host. Really appreciate you. We rocked this thing out. Thank you guys for rocking us and showing some more support for me and my guy, Steph, right out here on Flatout Business. Make sure you guys go like and subscribe, too, for everybody who's tapped in with Lambo to my guy, Steph's channel, Flatout Business. Definitely go like, subscribe, tap into the community, and definitely go and support my guy, Stephen. Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the high energy. This was probably the highest energy episode we've had on here, so I appreciate it, really. I had fun talking to you. I thought this was like 25 minutes, but it's been over an hour, so we're going to have to kick each other out of here, and I'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you so much.
Sounds great. You too. Later, you guys. Goodbye.
Bye.
Take care.